Hey, how's it going, everyone? Today, we're checking out a video that's been on my watch later list for quite a while. So I'm real curious to check it out. It has a really interesting title that really caught my eye. The most compelling argument for God's existence. It's from the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. So I'm curious to see what he's got to say and what his guest has got to say. So without further ado, let's jump into this video.
Well, one of the things I think that's happened in the religious community is you see people who are brought up in religious homes and they're taught the stories of the Bible. They're never taught any deeper philosophy or theology that attaches to that. So they have sort of a children's eyes view of what God is and how to think about God, sort of think of God still as the old man in the sky who's controlling things. What in your opinion is the most reasonable proof of God? What have you found to be the most convincing proof of God's existence?
Here we go. This is a question that so many people ask. What is, I need proof for the existence of God. So many people ask this question from all walks of life, be it someone who's religious, someone who's not religious, atheists to theists. Everybody wants to know this question. I need proof for the existence of God. I'm curious to hear the response to this question.
I think that those are two questions. For me, my favorite argument for the existence of God that I find the most compelling is a version of the cosmological argument, which goes like this. Whatever begins to exist has a cause.
Everything
Something can't just come into being from nothing. Secondly, the universe began to exist. I think we have both good philosophical arguments and scientific evidence for the finitude of the past, from which it follows, third, therefore the universe has a cause. And when you do a conceptual analysis of what it is to be a cause of the universe, you arrive at a being which is an uncaused, beginningless, timeless, spaceless, enormously powerful.
Why do you arrive at a being, though? You know? Let me go back.
Come into being from nothing. Secondly, the universe began to exist. I think we have both good philosophical arguments and scientific evidence for the finitude of the past, from which it follows, third, therefore the universe has a cause. And when you do a conceptual analysis of what it is to be a cause of the universe, you arrive at a being which is an uncaused, beginningless, timeless, spaceless, enormously powerful, personal creator of the universe. So for me...
Okay, so he's not really connecting the dots from point A to point B. What he's saying is if you start here and you follow this train of thought, you will end up at this conclusion. You will end up at the conclusion of the universe was created by a personal creator, by a being. So let's try and break it down. I'm not a philosopher. I am not a theologian. But let's try and break down where he's coming from with this. So from my understanding, the argument he's trying to make is something can't come from nothing, right? Because nothing can't create something because that's the nature of nothing. There's nothing there, right? So how can something come out of nothing? Can nothing come out of something? Maybe, but we're not living in a nothing. We're living in a something. There's something here because we're here, right? But something can come from someone. Someone can create something. And that's where you get the idea of a personal creator. You have someone, you have a person who is creating. A person can create something.
A cause of the universe. You arrive at a being which is an uncaused, beginningless, timeless, spaceless, enormously powerful, personal creator of the universe. So for me, that is a very convincing argument for God. But I find that with university students, that's not the most convincing argument. You can ignore philosophical arguments for the finitude of the past or scientific evidence for the beginning of the universe. But the argument that they find, I think, the most compelling is what
I would say the reason why they don't find that as a compelling argument is because you can say, I don't know, in science, right? I mean, not just in science. You should be able to say, I don't know for anything, you know? So because science can't explain the origins of the universe, we can say, I don't know. You know, what is the beginning? I don't know. Where did this something come from? I don't know. Theology has an answer, and that answer is God. But because the university students are comfortable saying, I don't know, which is a good thing, that answer is not enough. Because just because science doesn't have the answer to it doesn't necessarily mean that God is the creator of the universe. That is the way they're thinking. However, the question still stands. Something can't come from nothing. Something has to come from something or someone. So in that case, you have this timeless thing that had the ability to bring about everything. A timeless thing that created everything. Is that God? That sounds like God to me. But again, I understand those university students he's talking about. It's not just university students. It's so many different types of people from so many different walks of life. I understand where they're coming from. I understand the skepticism. But let's keep going here.
Called the moral argument.
The moral
and
argument.
It would go like this. One,
I know what this is.
If God does not exist, then objective moral values and duties do not exist.
We talked about this in our Bible study. That line, where does that line come from? We need that standard to measure ourselves against to. And what was that standard? That standard is the law. The law that God gave us is that standard. If someone sins, they're breaking God's law. But if someone breaks God's law without knowing what God's law is, that doesn't necessarily mean they're committing a sin. Either way, God's law exists. God's law is still there as a standard.
Like this. One, if God does not exist, then objective moral values and duties do not exist. That is to say, in the absence of God, everything becomes socioculturally relative. Two, but objective moral values and duties do exist.
Everything becomes socioculturally relative. If there's no objective morals, then everything is relative. It depends on your culture where you're at. Maybe cannibalism is fine in some cultures. But there is a line there, right? Murder may be fine in some cultures, may be accepted. You know? Where can you draw the line? You can't draw the line. But there is objective morality, right? That's his argument. I've heard the argument that there is no objective morality. But let's see what he's got to say here.
But objective moral values and duties do exist. There are some moral absolutes, some objective values and duties. Three, therefore God exists. Now, this is an argument
I don't think he's going to get into what those moral absolutes are, though.
Every day you get up, you answer by how you treat other people, whether you regard them as having intrinsic moral value or whether they are mere means to be used for your ends. And so this argument, I find, tends to be the most convincing for people.
I think the reason why that argument is more convincing for people is because it's not just a logical argument. It can be a very emotional argument as well. What is right? What is wrong? Do people have value? Do people not have value? I care for people. I have feelings for people. They have value to me. Doing things that affects other people, that's important. That's significant. Okay? That can be significant in a positive way. That can be significant in a negative way. So that is a very emotional argument as well. And that's why I think it is more compelling, because emotional arguments tend to be more compelling than logical arguments. So now my question to you is, if at all, what would you consider a moral absolute? A moral absolute is something that would be intrinsically right or intrinsically wrong, just by the very nature of it. Would killing be a moral absolute? That is morally wrong. That is absolutely wrong. Well, what about when God told his people to kill? Was it a moral absolute then? These are tough questions. These are tough questions, and this is why these type of discussions are extremely important and extremely interesting, because there's so many different viewpoints. There's so many different takes on these arguments. So let me know down below in the comment section, what do you think are some moral absolutes? Because I'm curious to know myself. This is a journey that I'm going through, and this is a journey that you're going. We're going on this journey together. So let me know down below, what do you think are some moral absolutes? I'll chime in. I'm going to comment. I'm going to reply to your comments too. So we could have a discussion down there. I'll be curious to read the comments. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.